Welcome in, everybody. Happy holidays, and welcome to the Tuesday live stream on the On Texas Football channel. And we're ready to roll. We got a lot to dive into over the next hour plus on a Tuesday night. Rod Babers, CJ Vogel, transfer portal. Longhorns, former Longhorns now continue to populate that. We'll get into the players the Longhorns may be targeting in the portal and the conversation surrounding the transfer portal. So many guys entered the portal on Monday that shut down the database. Apparently, they crashed it. It's record setting as far as the transfer portal. The player empowerment era is here for sure. And we'll dive in there. Plus, we'll talk Longhorns and the all SEC teams, which raised some eyebrows today. Longhorns did pretty well, but some guys got left off / snub, which we'll talk about and certainly take your comments on. And we'll start looking forward to Clemson a week from Saturday, Texas in the 12-team playoff, the maiden voyage of the 12-team playoff, and excited about that. We were talking about it this morning, guys. You know what kind of a crowd do we expect? I had one of our people I work with say, is this the biggest home game ever? And I'm like, I don't know about that. But at the same time, we've never had one of these, Rod, CJ. I mean, it's a win or go home kind of game, unique to, the Longhorns. It's never happened before. Only 4 teams get to host. I expect quite the scene on Saturday, a week from this Saturday on the 21st, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Students can't go home. They got to stay, right? They got to be there in that student section and not go home for the holidays until afterwards. But should be a pretty cool scene to kind of set the, be the first team, one of the first teams out. Obviously, there'll be a Friday night game with Notre Dame, Indiana. The Saturday game, Penn State, SMU ahead of Texas. But, pretty cool to be a part of the first ever college football playoff weekend.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it actually, but you're right. It'll be one of the biggest home games in Texas football history. Has to be. I mean, because the first, right, first time they'll actually be in the college football playoff game. So yeah, I'm gonna go, and I'll go at least for the first half, and I'll come back and do the in-game live watch. So I'm gonna go, not just for that occasion. Usually, I don't go to a ton of games these days unless it's a special occasion, and I consider it to be that. So I want to be there for the first college football playoff game that Texas hosts. I think it's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and, Rod, you played in the NFL too. I mean, CJ, I mean, the playoffs, they're a different intensity level. I mean, even the regular season's big in the NFL, but, it just rises to that. Everybody on the field understands if you don't get it done today, your season's over. And there's a immediacy to every play, to every possession. It's never been, it's like a national championship game because, you only get 1 or 2. I mean, if you're in the Final Four the last couple of years, you had that. But man, it's a different level for the players, the coaches, in the understanding of what happens if you don't perform.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is if you don't win this one, your season's over. For most of these guys, your college career is over, which means for some, your football career is over. It's do or die essentially. And to Rod's point, I'm pretty excited to see what this crowd turnout will look like. What will the environment around DKR be like. Texas had big games, right? They had one this year. Georgia, right? You had one last year. TCU. Alabama the year before that. And you can go down the list, big marquee, college game day-esque games. Nothing quite like this, right? Nothing that could end your season potentially. So I'm excited to see what that turnout will be. And I know that Texas fans, when there is a big game, they come in and, they show out. So that'll be exciting, of course. And a lot of reasons kind of tying back to Clemson, whether it be Makuba coming from Clemson, whether it be Kate Klubnik from the Austin area. Some interesting storylines that I think will draw a lot of interest and intrigue from Texas fans and fans alike that will try to attend this game.
I'll take your comments on that as a fan. If you're coming in for the game or a season ticket holder and going to the game, where does this rank as far as an all-time game? It's the first of its kind, which is pretty cool. So it's a unicorn, at least for now. And who knows? The next time Texas will host one of these things, you feel like Texas can make the playoff coming up with all these top recruits and the way it's trending. But this is an opportunity. This says, Rod, I need 100 extra passes for my OTF friends. PDC, who do I call?
Hey, man, I'm not cool enough to get the sideline passes right now either. I'm going, though, as a spectator, but I'll be there. You know what I mean? Trust me, I already got that taken care of. That happened today. So I know a lot of Longhorn fans, man, are going to make it a top priority to get out there.
Yeah, well, somebody messaged earlier about the HGTV spread I got going. My wife was sure to get the Christmas tree done before we started today. She was pretty adamant to make sure we do. She does 2 trees, one here and one in the other room. So she made sure to get this one done. So yes, props to her. That's not my doing. Just sit down and do
Good.
the deal. Yeah, she's HGTV all the way through. So, guys, the Clemson side of it. I mean, we'll talk more about it next Tuesday too. But just your initial thoughts. I mean, it's a big brand. That's the other part of how big this game will be. I mean, Clemson has been a dominant program the last decade. Dabo Swinney kind of patterned his program after Mac Brown and the family atmosphere, and he's taking a lot of heat and criticism for the transfer portal. Not using it and all those things. Same time, here's his team again, 10 wins and in the playoff. And I think Texas is the better team, but at the same time, it's a big brand. It's a big game. Be a lot of orange on the field, and you can't ask for much more in the first ever playoff game.
No, this is exciting. And, we've talked about over the last decade, Clemson's kind of been synonymous, maybe without the last 2 years or so, with, playoff success, college football national championship, and big picture wise competing for the national championship. They've been, one of the staples of the sport. So that's exciting to see them come down to Austin and play against the Longhorns. Look, Clemson's still talented. I know that's kind of been the downfall of Clemson is they haven't adapted to the portal era just yet, right? One of the big downfalls of Dabo Swinney and why they still have 3 losses this year. There's a lot of talent that they've left on the table when it comes to talent acquisition. They do it their way, and, you can live and die by the sword right now. And right now, you're one of the 12 best teams still remaining, so you're doing something right. Just won an ACC championship over SMU. I think Cade Klubnik's a really talented quarterback, 33 touchdowns this year, 5 turnovers. Talented quarterback, and he's a gamer. He's a competitive kid, great program that he comes from at Austin Westlake. I said it immediately whenever the draw was released, and I think Texas fans weren't too happy with it. But look, I don't love the matchup with Clemson. Look, it's not the Clemson of national championship eras, but it's still Clemson. They still got a lot of talent on that defense, specifically up front, the defensive line. They still got a quarterback who, given any situation and given any given day, he might just be the best quarterback at any time in the playoffs remaining, depending on the Cade that you get. Now, Texas has a good defense. We'll see how that shakes out. But look, it's not a walk in the park with the way that you might anticipate a 5v12 matchup would be.
Yeah, maybe the best quarterback the Longhorns have played. A veteran player, played a lot of games, and people found this out at Westlake, and they find out at Clemson. Rod, he's faster than you think. Yeah. He gets open field, he can go. I mean, he can run past you. I know Michael Taft will be telling all his guys, "Hey, man, don't think you got the angle all the time on him if he gets clear." But that's, I think what CJ just said is right, and I think it's really cool. Whatever the people's opinions of the playoff are and the seeding and who gets the buys and who not. I just love the idea that, when the season began in August, all 133 teams could say, we can make we can play for the national title. And you can take at Arizona State in that regard. They were 5-2 at one point, lost to Cincinnati, and here they are as a 4 seed. Boise State, playing for a national title. Clemson. I think that's really cool. I think that's something we've seen in basketball a lot. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out in football. I just love the concept that all 133 teams at Division I can really believe, and big picture. As we watch and we get into the transfer portal here coming up, coaches can recruit to that. You can win a national championship here. You don't have to leave. You don't have to go to Alabama or Ohio State or Texas to win a national championship. You can compete for and win one here. I think that helps spread out the talent. Y'all's thoughts on that? That coaches can recruit to it. Now they have examples of it where Boise State's a 3 seed, Arizona State's a 4, Clemson's in with 3 losses. I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think, ultimately, whether people like it or not, I do believe the college football playoff will expand.
Yeah,
whenever they get the opportunity to, because I'm with you. I think, I think ultimately it allows more teams, more fan bases to have hope, and that's kind of what the NFL sells a lot of too, right? Is hope. So the draft is all about, and the playoffs, and that's what it represents. So the more opportunities. The more fan bases will stay invested longer in the season, and they'll start believing some of those Cinderella stories, because you got a couple, just like college basketball has their Cinderella stories. Now you're going to have some Cinderella stories in college football potentially. Arizona State, as you mentioned, it's one of those kind of Cinderella stories that can happen. And I love the different paths, right, that you're starting to see to the college football playoff, whether it's SMU's path, which has been a very circuitous route. And you talk about with Texas and even Clemson, and just like you talked about with Arizona State, it seems like every Boise State, there's going to be different paths to get here and different formulas in the NIL transfer portal era. that work for different programs, and you kind of got to figure out where you are and where your niche is. That window is narrow, obviously, if you're a group of 5, but if you're in the power conferences, you're talking about a much more wider path to get to a championship potentially than they've had in recent years. Yeah.
You got SMU, Indiana, Arizona State. I mean, all these teams are not brands, but you got the big brands too. I think that makes it a lot of fun. Hopefully we get some good games here coming up. And consider this, guys, if the Longhorns, if the favorites win, let's just play it this way. And we know there's been a lot of upsets in college football this year, but if the favorites win, the Longhorns to win the national title are going to have to beat the ACC champ, the Big 12 champ, probably the Pac-12 or the Big 10 champ, and then might have to meet Georgia again, the SEC champion. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's an opportunity to beat all the champions of the 4 other conferences or the 4 major conferences if you can get there. That would be that's the challenge. Big picture for the Longhorns. All right, let's dive into the transfer portal. I saw you tweet this, CJ. We expected the Longhorns to have some attrition at the bottom of the depth chart, and here we are. Jonte Cook obviously left the program middle of the season after 19 games. Jure Bledsoe, Darian Gillette, Cecilia Kana, Aaron Bryant, Tia Savea, Javion Cole. Savea and Cole just got here, transferred in the offseason. One from UCLA, one from, what was it? It's wherever Javion Cole. I can't remember his college in California before, but any of those stand out? I mean, Jonte Cook's not a surprise. He's a real good player, 5-star player, but the others just kind of, and we've talked about path to the field. They could kind of see the writing on the wall as far as, 24 new commitments are coming in. The Longhorns are going to go into the portal again themselves here in December. So these guys want to go play. Even Aaron Bryant, CJ, put out a statement very complimentary of Texas. This is more about, I need to go play. I want to get on the field. And, college football players want to play football.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, maybe the big surprise of this is that you've had 3 defensive linemen already enter. But I don't think that you can look at the 3 that entered and say that any of them were a surprise, and I say that as a numbers perspective, right? Texas is expected to lose at least 4 to the NFL or graduation. Now you got 3 also departing. So there's 7 guys in that defensive line room specifically that you can look at and say, okay, that's a lot of attrition so far. Texas has 3 guys coming in from the high school ranks, which means it's going to be a lot on the plate of an Alex January. It's going to be a lot on the plate of a Melvin Hills who completely redshirted this year. And it's going to be big for the retention of Sadir Mitchell. So Texas will have to go out there and add 3 at the very least, in my opinion, out of the portal to feel like they are maintaining that level of play and production on the defensive line, which is also key in the SEC. So right now, again, you kind of look at who's entered. I think the biggest, glaring point that you could point to is, hey, that middle column, career starts, not a single one amongst the 7 that have started or that have entered the portal so far. That to me kind of just speaks to the level of depth with this Texas team. Again, it'd be great to have all these guys back on the roster for next year, but Texas, and the way that they've gone out and attacked the portal, they've done a great job of getting guys that can come in and make instant impacts and be big-time players for the Longhorns. This just frees up more spots. Right now, Texas sits at 77 scholarship players on the current roster. Who knows how many guys depart for the NFL? Who knows how many continued to depart for the portal? Right now, I'm anticipating Texas being right around the 50 to 55% done when it comes to portal entrance, which means they'll probably get up to about 12 or 13. So I would expect that number to go all the way down to about 55 or so, and then brings in 25 new additions out of the high school ranks. And then, again, that goes to that flexible number of who else departs and who else can Texas bring in, probably upwards of about 7 to 8 to maybe 10 out of the portal this year.
Yeah, this is
a player. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, this is not, obviously, losing guys. Attrition now is a natural part of every program with the transfer portal. I think CJ hit the nail on the head, right? When you're looking at career starts, guys who have had a major impact, have been major contributors, you're not really losing any of those guys. And I think ultimately, that's why these guys are looking for a path to play elsewhere. If I'm looking for a position that would obviously be most affected by this, your defensive line, considering what you're going to lose and, what you're losing here in the transfer portal. But, DB, wide receiver, I've always said wide receiver is the deepest position in football at every level. I love CJ's take that you should take a wide receiver every year in the transfer portal because it's just such a deep position. I totally agree with that. Linebacker, you're bringing in some dogs at linebacker and got some really good young players at linebacker. So linebacker's not a concern either. And DB, I mean, the last 2 classes, you brought in, 5 DBs in both of those classes. You're loaded
5
there
and
too.
5.
5 and 5, yeah. So you got so many young guys coming up, and you're so deep. I mean, you might be the deepest secondary in the country right now. So D-line is the one you got to focus on. So back-to-back years, Texas will need to have a short-term and a long-term solution on the D-line. So transfer portal and of course, it actually just had a really good recruiting class in terms of long-term projections on the defensive line. They definitely need to have kind of solutions there because that once again there'll be some uncertainty on the defensive line with what they're losing.
Yeah, and you guys went through a real good churn of how these guys will move on, and you almost have to if you're bringing in all these players and you're going to get in the portal, you almost have to have some guys peel off that want to go play. And we've seen a lot of these guys that have left Texas and go play elsewhere. I mean, Arizona State, who the Longhorns may play in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks now, they got 3 former Longhorns on that team. And Jake Smith's on that team. Gosh, who's the wide receiver? Troy O'Meary's on that team. I mean, they got 3 former Longhorns. So guys are leaving and going and playing at other places, which is good for their career and their opportunities. CJ, when you look at the numbers, what positions and where do you think Texas attacks themselves here in the next few weeks in the portal? Wide receiver would jump out. We've already seen a ton of guys in there. There's reports about a Georgia Tech receiver they're interested in. Heck, Ryan Williams, the Alabama receiver, jumped in the portal today, which is crazy. I mean, that freshman lit up the world, and he caught passes in high school from the Longhorns recruiting class quarterback KJ Lacey at Saraland, Alabama. You wonder if the Longhorns get in on that. I mean, what positions do you think? You mentioned defensive tackle and D-line. Where do you think the Longhorns attack in the portal if they're going to try to fill some holes here in the month of December into January?
Yeah, to start, look, I'll go to Jake's point here. Will they be staying through the playoffs? Look, I think it's kind of up in the air. I think Sarkisian has had that kind of stance of if you're with us or you're not. If you want a portal, you're gone. But at the same time, I think he understands that, look, you only have so much time to enter the portal and find a new home by the start of the next season. And so it's a case by case right now. Of course, practice is not in session until Thursday. So we'll see just who's on the practice field and who's back home looking for their next start at a new school. But Aaron, to your question, it starts with defensive line. Again, you have 4 guys headed to the NFL or graduation. That's your core 4 right now with Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins, Bill Norton, Jermaine Lole. That's your core 4. They're gone. And then that next level up, look, that was Tia Savea. That was Jeray Bledsoe. That was Aaron Bryant. Those were the 3 guys that you were hoping to see take the next step for next year, right? We've talked about the continuance of Maro Ojimo and Keandre Coburn to Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy to Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton this year. That's continuity. That's staying in the system. That's development and buying into the coaching that you have. So I think defensive line is going to be the spot that you completely see Texas go all out for. Again, they need 3. I think you go 2 big fish. I think if you had a cap space for this year when it comes to how much you spend or where your NIL dollars come from when it goes to portal additions, I think out of those 2, regardless of how many you take, if 40% of those dollars have to go to defensive line, just in the sense that that's a key position that you cannot be short at, and you cannot be devoid of talent moving forward.
All right. Yeah. You mean D-line and SEC. I mean, the Longhorns are doing great in the high school ranks and developing, but yes, that's going to be a spot. But I do think, Rod, Kenny Baker, landing the Justice Terry commitment and what he's done in a short amount of time, as I mentioned, Aaron Bryan put out a statement, very complimentary of Kenny. I mean, it does feel like at receiver and wide receiver and defensive line, kids want to come play here because, they're getting developed. They're getting a chance to, gosh, I mean, as you mentioned, went through some of the guys, more Ojimo, Keandre Coburn, Byron Murphy, Tavondre Sweat, now Broughton and Collins. These guys and Jermaine Lole, these guys are probably going to be on NFL rosters next year, and that's what these guys want. And so there's going to be guys out there that look at that and say, man, that's where guys are getting better. Guys are improving. Wide receivers want to come catch passes from Arch Manning. Defensive linemen want to come get developed for the National Football League and play in big games. I mean, that Sark's got real nice little recipe here to be able to attract top talent too, even though you're losing some of it.
Yeah, and to me that the D line, I agree with CJ. I think that's got to be the priority because that those types of athletes are just tougher to find, and most of them are in SEC country. They're in Georgia, they're in Alabama, Louisiana, and Florida. They're to me that's where you find the most of them. You ask guys like Jerry Hamilton, guys like CJ Vogel, where are the best defensive linemen in the country at? They're in SEC country. That's why the SEC rules twitchy big guys. They're hard to find. All right, you find big guys, but find twitchy big guys that can play on the D line. Those guys are tough to find, and that's why it's big for Texas to go into places like Georgia and get the top D linemen, and to get those guys from places like Louisiana and like from Florida and places like that. So I think Texas is starting, I think, to get the types of athletes they want on the defensive line, but they've done a great job with the players they have inherited of developing that talent. And now you're talking about a pipeline potentially of going to the NFL every year, guys from a certain position, going to getting drafted, at that position. That to me is something that you can recruit on. It's like, hey man, we're sending guys to the league. That's what every player who's playing college football now, that's what their dream is, to play in the league. If you can help them accomplish that dream, or you can make them confident, or you can give them confidence that you can help them achieve that dream, you got them. And I think that's what Texas is starting to do at a lot of positions. Running back, wide receiver, want D-line to be like that. The DB starting to do their thing, so hopefully DB becomes one of those positions in a couple of years too. But right now, there's no doubt D-line and running back is D-line, running back, and then maybe wide receiver after this year will be that position potentially.
Okay. Hey, Rod, before we get to some other conversations portal-wise, and we'll take your questions on that, also get into the all-SEC teams, let's do some thanks to our partners here tonight, including our friends at Carrot Concierge. It's December the 10th. We're 2 weeks to Christmas Eve. Carrot Concierge can be, if you're thinking about, man, that perfect gift for the wife, the daughter, the mom, a piece of jewelry, this is a great way to go.
That's right, folks. If you're looking for the right gift, for the perfect gift for the special person in your life, make sure you check out thecarrotconcierge.com. Jody Reynolds is a personal jeweler, and she is the Carrot Concierge. She's got an office right there in Westlake. Jody focuses on helping men purchase the special gift for that woman in their life. You can use the QR code, which will pop up on your screen here momentarily, and you can visit her on Instagram or visit her website, thecarrotconcierge.com. Jody prides herself in providing personal service. She takes the extra steps to make sure your lady gets exactly what she wants, and because she doesn't have the overhead, see the QR code right there, the overhead of a storefront, she often can get higher quality inventory at the lowest possible prices, as much as 30% less than what you see at a local jewelry store. So if you're looking for something special for birthdays, anniversaries, or with Christmas right around the corner, look no further than the Carrot Concierge. Jody has a variety of tennis bracelets, rings, necklaces, and more. All beautiful jewelry, all personalized for you and yours. Check out thecarrotconcierge.com. Visit our website, or just give her a call or a text, and she'll take care of you so you can take care of that very special person in your life. So we appreciate her for sponsoring our Tuesday night live stream, thecarrotconcierge.com.
Man, convenient and good stuff right there. 2 weeks to Christmas and the holiday season. My buddy Matthew just let me know that I got duped by that Ryan Williams story. That was fake. My apologies for that. Ryan Williams is not in the transfer portal. I got.
Oh, don't do it.
Yeah, so I got on that. But I also wanted to show this because you're talking about where they develop defensive tackles. If you guys, I'm sure you guys have shown this and seen it. But the Justice Terry photo, the Longhorn commitment from Manchester, Georgia, when he's in the eighth grade. When you're talking about where they're developing, big bodies. Let's see that, Matthew. Here we go. Good Longhorn 5-star commitment when he's in the 8th grade. Do we have this? Let's see.
Yeah. Look at this dude. Good. I remember this photo too. I didn't even put it together when he committed to. I didn't even put it together. But yes, I remember this photo back then because it went viral. And he was in 8th grade, and I was like, that's unreal.
I was in the same boat, right? I didn't realize until it came out much after that was the same kid that became the #1 defensive lineman in the class and a future Texas signing. I didn't realize it until after.
Crazy, man. They're built different in SEC country. I'm telling you.
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
They're built a little different down there, man. They are.
That is.
Yeah.
Come on, man. It was 14 years old in that picture. That's pretty ridiculous. But yes, and
seriously.
thought that was taken last week when I first saw it. No, Daniel, that was taken 4 years ago when he was a kid.
Yeah, now he's way more cut now. Now he looks even more like a grown man. But still. Yeah, Debo. They shouldn't just call him Debo. They should his nickname should just be Debo.
Well, and if you go back to the original tweet that he put out, he said, "Ready for freshman year." He was headed to his freshman year of high school, and there he is.
That dude. Yeah. When you're in 8th grade, imagine 8th grade football, and coach, that was your assignment. Like coach was like, "All right, you got to go block that dude." He's like, "What?" He's just like, "Oh, come on, coach, what are you talking about?" No, I need you to go block that dude, man.
Yeah,
that was a lot of middle schoolers last days of playing football right there.
Exactly. Yeah, some parents were upset. Like, why is he out there? He does not need to be playing against my kid. That's
put the green dot on his helmet. He can't run the ball.
There he is. That's the day I quit right there. Hey, well, I remember when I was in elementary school, into middle school and high school, I went to school with Sam Adams. If y'all remember, he went to A&M, won the Outland Trophy, and Sam's dad played in the NFL for 15 years. But his mom was our PE coach. She was big as he was, and Sam was the nicest person, big teddy bear. But he was that kind of big. Yeah, that was the day I decided to play tennis. Yeah, Sam Adams was that, and we what a nice guy. But yeah, they're just different for sure. Hey, let's talk some all SEC. The SEC's got a busy week. Tomorrow night they're going to put out the schedule. They're doing, if you're programming your evening tomorrow night, 6 to 8 tomorrow, they're doing a schedule reveal, which shouldn't be a lot of drama really. The Longhorns know who they're going to play next year, but they also will find out the dates. So if you're looking to book a trip to Athens for the Georgia game, Gainesville for the Florida game, Kentucky for Lexington, you start to figure out what those dates are going to be and what the order of games will be. That'll be out tomorrow for all the SEC teams, 6 to 8 tomorrow. But today they announced the all SEC teams, and I know CJ, you put out a tweet with this, and there's the official all SEC offense. Jackson Dart starting quarterback. Longhorns have 2 on the first team. They have Kelvin Banks at left tackle. They also have Jahdae Barron on the defensive side of the ball. On the number 1 defense in the country, only 1 player on the first team all SEC defense. Any surprise or any feelings there, guys?
Yeah, look, I know Texas fans probably won't be too happy with this, but look, you're talking about the best 22 from 16 different teams now. So it's a lot to choose from. Personally, I don't know how Gunnar Helm, Anthony Hill, I think both of them have a case for first team. But to me, to see Danny Stutzman over Anthony Hill, I mean, what are we doing? What did anybody watch football this year? That's a bit surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that, and Jihad Campbell's a real good player. Whit Weeks was really good at LSU, but I mean, yeah, Anthony Hill is a sophomore. He didn't reach finalists for the Butkus Award, which I think was we talked about was pretty silly, and not even on first team. But he did. Do we have the whole list of Longhorns, Matthew, that made all SEC teams? Here we go. I know Quinn Ewers is second team quarterback. Gunnar Helm made second team tight end, which is nothing to sniff at here. And on the defensive side, Anthony Hill is your linebacker. So 3 on the second team, and then on the third team, you've got Trey Wisner, who came on like crazy here, and Andrew Makuba, the defensive back. So 2, 3, and 2, but no Michael Taff. On this team, which I know a lot of people are wondering, that's probably the biggest snub. And this is a vote of the coaches, y'all. This is the coaches of all of the coaching staffs and the coaches of the 16 teams vote here. So Rod, your thoughts here of there are 16 teams to choose from. There's only 11 spots on each team, so a tough vote and a lot of good players.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree. I mean, there's a lot of great players. So I hate to start disrespecting other programs' players. Just so I think Texas players are superior. So no doubt Jahdae Barron and Kelvin Banks, I mean, those guys are finalists for national awards. So goes without saying, they're, of course, some of the best in their conference. They're some of the best in the country. If you did get recognition at all, then at least you got some love. I think the guys who probably got the most gripe are the guys who got no love at all. So I'm with you on Taft Daddy. I don't know how Michael Taft doesn't get any recognition at all. I mean, he's one of the best safeties in the country. And if you look at stats and even impact plays compared to some of the other guys who got recognition on there, he has more impact plays and better stats than some of the guys who made all SEC. So Taft Daddy should have got some love. Man, honestly, Matthew Golden didn't get any love. I was a little surprised at that. Matthew Golden didn't get any love. Matthew Golden's got some really good stats out there as well, and he didn't make any team at all. And I'm with you at Jake Majors. Jake Majors get any love at all?
No,
man.
No. Surprising.
Yeah,
you know, I feel bad for Rod in your position is Manny Muhammad. He doesn't. Manny Muhammad is. I mean, come on, first, second, or third team. That guy doesn't even get thrown at.
I'm not exactly. That's why I'm not surprised at the Manny Muhammad thing. I said at the beginning of the year, I said he's arguably going to end up being one of your better players, but he's not going to get the love because you got to make plays on the football these days as a DB. The NFL scouts, they will love you, all right, because they're watching the film. But in terms of being recognized, yeah, if you don't have stats, because I was one of those guys. Sometimes I didn't have a lot of stats. I had a lot of PBUs, and sometimes it takes you a while to be on the map. Right. So Manny Muhammad just got there. I bet next year, even with no stats at all, he'll still get a lot of love because everybody knows how good he is.
Well, and I wonder, you know, when coaches vote, I mean, there's almost a thought that, yeah, that's why you feel bad for Michael Taft, as this Eric says. You know, his numbers are better than Caleb Downs. His numbers are better than most any safety in college football. But it's almost like these coaches, you know, Anthony Hill will have his day, right? I mean, Manny Muhammad's only a sophomore. Colin Simmons had great numbers, and he's a freshman. But you feel bad for Michael Taft because this was his year to get some of these honors and played well enough to get it, outplayed guys who are on that. Gunnar Helm is on. I mean, these are the guys that and I know Gunnar was second team, so that's nothing to sneeze at. But still, I think that would be the point. The young guys who didn't make it, you know, their day will come. But you feel bad for a Michael Taft who, you know, didn't get the recognition I think he deserves because he's been the quarterback back there and really the leader. Makuba got it, Jade Barron, but Michael Taft getting left off, I think, is unfortunate.
Yeah, no, it is. I agree because I just think ultimately it works against him that Texas is first year in the SEC. They don't want too many Texas guys on there, right?
Yeah,
and they don't want it overrepresented with Texas guys, and I kind of get that too. So there is a little bit of politics in there. There's no question.
Kind of like last year, right? Last year where Sark doesn't even win Coach of the Year coming out of the Big 12, or
exactly.
You know what I mean? We're not going to. There's a little Texas bias there. I think that's fair, and you almost have to expect it that we're not going to love them too much in their first year.
And I'm listen for Taft. He's used to Taft. This guy's a walk on that earned the right to get a scholarship and earned this way on the field. And I would tell you all the time, trust me, man. The guys, the coaches are giving the least opportunity to walk-ons. They get the least amount of opportunity, the least snaps and reps to showcase their stuff. And coaches are doing everything in their power to give the blue chips, the 4- and the 5-star, the scholarship guys as many reps, and they're giving them all the chances and the benefit of the doubt to win the job. So that's the toughest route to win a starting job is as a walk-on. And Taft Daddy's done it. And honestly, at this point, the way he's playing now, I don't know if Taft is coming back or not. I don't know. I don't know if we've ever talked about that. But the way he's playing now, if he ends up getting drafted, I am ready to say I've never seen, at Texas anyway, a walk-on turned starter turned draft pick. That's not a kicker or something like that. Like
that's a great way to put it, Rob. Well, and you go back to, the matchup this week with
it's not Ricky Williams either. Don't give me Ricky and Quan and stuff like that.
They were not walk-ons. They were pros.
You get me.
But Michael Taft was, whatever the reason, he didn't get recruited highly, but he was a 2-time, MVP of a state championship game. And, he intercepted Quinn Ewers at Westlake and when they were playing South Lake Carroll and Cade Klubnik. This guy was a great player. He could have gone to some Ivy League schools and, ended up at Texas where he's just worked his tail off. And I will give you some of his stats for the folks who are arguing for Michael Taft, and I will certainly do it. He was the highest graded defensive DB in the SEC, according to Pro Football Focus, a 91 grade in SEC games. Highest cover graded DB at 90.9. Third among SEC safeties in pass breakups. 9th among SEC safeties in interceptions. 8th among SEC safeties in average yards per catch. over 150 snaps. So gets no all SEC recognition. That seems like a miss. And but Michael Taff, if you cover him every week, CJ, he'll just put his head down and go. And that's just more fuel for him. He's kind of heard that his whole life, I think, is kind of the way that goes. And they'll be ready for the Clemson Tigers and his old buddy Cade Klubnik, and he'll give a pretty good scouting report. You have to think on Cade for the rest of that defense. He should, right?
Yep.
Guys, the schedule. Let's get into that a little bit. What do we think is coming tomorrow with this schedule? I mean, we know they're playing everybody they played this year. Just flip it. So the Aggies will be here. Arkansas will be here. The road games of this year. Vanderbilt will come to Austin, but you'll travel to Mississippi State, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky. Tougher next year. But what's the best road trip on the schedule next year, CJ? If you've been to these places, where is the one place where our audience needs to make sure they book some plane tickets tomorrow when the schedule comes out? Is it Athens or is it Gainesville? Is it Lexington? What do you think? Columbus, obviously, week 1.
Yeah, well, of course, but SEC wise, Athens will probably be the best game atmosphere. I'm really interested and excited to go to Gainesville. I think that'll be a really fun stop for Texas fans. Of course, look, Florida's not going to be a pushover next year with DJ Lagway coming in for year 2. He's the future. He's the reason why a lot of that team and really the entire coaching staff has been retained for next year. It's because of the belief in him. They see him as a guy that can carry that program. And shoot, you can back it up with the numbers this year. When he was on the field, it was a completely different Florida team. Obviously, Texas saw Florida this year without DJ Lagway, and before you knew it, it was 42-0 Longhorns. So, would it have been a more competitive game? Sure. Would it have stopped Texas from scoring 42? Probably not. Point being, I'm really excited to go to the Swamp next year, and that's probably the number 1 spot for me where I'm like, okay, let's see where that weekend falls. The biggest thing that I'm interested to see about the schedule release tomorrow night is, what does the back and forth with Oklahoma look like, right? Texas had a bye going into Oklahoma. Texas had Georgia coming out of it. Obviously, Texas lost that game. Texas had 2 byes this year. They beat Oklahoma 34-3, and they beat Florida 49-17. So they do something right in that bye week to get prepared for their next opponent coming out of it. Is that big game, or is that bye week leading up to a big game with Oklahoma, a Georgia, or Florida? I think that'll be really interesting to see how the bye weeks fall and where the back and forth with Oklahoma going in and coming out falls as well.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, any prediction on Longhorns' first game next year? I mean, we still got Longhorns hope they have 4 more games here in 2024 and 2025. First game next year is August 31st in Columbus. Any guess on who the Ohio – we know that Arch Manning will be the starting quarterback for Texas. Any guess on who the Ohio State quarterback will be?
If I had to guess
there's a lot of smoke that they're going to be in the portal here. They got to replace Will Howard here, and it's probably not going to be their backup. Who do the Buckeyes go after here?
Big money.
Look, Devin Brown just entered the portal as well. He was a guy out of Utah that Texas liked really late in that class coming out of high school. He just entered the cat that played against, what was it, Memphis? Who did Ohio State lose to last year in the Cotton Bowl? Really ugly game. It was Missouri. That's what it was. That cat's still around. He's got a really funky last name, but I think it's going to be Julian Sain, the former 5-star who was previously at Alabama, and Kalen DeBoer said, you know what? I'm bringing my guy over with me, Austin Mack from Washington. So I think he's kind of the shoe-in favorite right now. So we'll see. But I think with as much talent that they have, a portal option would be, something that they entertain at the very least.
Oh yeah.
Yep, we'll see. And for being the opponent next year, how many games does Ryan Day have to win here in this playoff to keep his job?
He's got to get to the national title. He got to make a run. And I think honestly, if they do bring him back, the pressure will be they'll want to replace Will Spill the Pill Howard or Will the Thrill Howard, whatever. They don't want to replace him with a veteran. They will go out and get a big time, big time quarter, because you can't take a chance with a youngster necessarily, because they lose to Michigan again. He's definitely gone. I don't know if he's going to be fired this year. But you can't. You keep losing to Michigan, losing to your rival, even though you're beating everybody else in the Big Ten. I don't see.
Well, I heard. I talked to a lot of Ohio State fans that think the home game with Tennessee is a bad idea. I mean, the home fans are so mad. It's like, and now the news today that Kirk Herbstreit's kid committed to Michigan.
No.
Oh yes.
Oh no. Oh man. Just keeps getting worse for this dude.
Oh man, Ryan Day can't. Golly, yeah. Herbie's kid plays quarterback and committed to Michigan. That's like, oh my goodness. All right, let me tell you about Mark Saunders and Allstate. That'll be better for you because if you call our friend Mark Saunders and the team there, Allstate insurance agent right here in Central Texas, Round Rock, Williamson County, and Travis. You're going to sleep better tonight. I promise you. You're going to put your head on the pillow and think, you know what? I'm good. All of my stuff that I've got is covered. That's what you want. You don't want to worry about it. And that's all your stuff. We're talking about your home, your biggest investment, your cars, your boat, motorcycle, RV, ATV, any of the stuff that you have, jewelry, as Rob was just talking about. You want to make sure everything is covered. And if you're looking for someone local here to Austin Round Rock, you got to give Texas Allstate agent Mark Saunders a call. Call him tomorrow, 218-8571. 218-571, and at least call them and talk to me. Hey, I heard you guys talking about it on the channel last night. Now let's at least compare some rates. Let's see where we are. What we can do? I'd like to get everything under one policy, and Mark can help you with that. So again, ask yourself, are you in good hands? More than 35 years of experience. You will be. Plus, you can talk some Texas football and get to know a great guy in Texas alum, Mark Saunders, 218-8571. We appreciate his partnership here every Tuesday night on the On Texas Football live stream. You will be in good hands and sleep better with Allstate. All right, guys. Portal is in full effect. We've got all SEC teams tomorrow. Jahdae Barron's going to win the Thorpe, right? I mean, is that Caleb Downs is up for it? Malachi Starks from Georgia. Still amazed that Travis Hunter didn't get nominated for that. Deion Sanders is still mad. Didn't make the finalists, but that's going to be a Jahdae award with the 5 interceptions.
No doubt.
I can't imagine that going anywhere else. That look, that's the Thorpe. And look, he was a block away from the game-winning pick 6, in an SEC championship game. That's only a play that the Thorpe makes, and Jahdae is that guy.
Yeah, he really is. And Rod, I know you've studied him since he got here. I mean, he's a student of the game as you were and are. And I saw him speak last night, and I'll send this to Matthew. Maybe we can play it. He was at the Bronco at the was it the Nagurski Award that was handed out last night? And he was there, and he was the lone DB there. There was the kid Kyle Kennard from South Carolina won it. Mason Graham from Michigan was there. I think Walter Nolan was there. Abdul Carter from Penn State. So 3 defensive linemen and Jahdae. It went to Kennard, but man, Jahdae is such a good player, and to bet on himself, Rod, to come back to work on playing corner and buy into what the NFL told him and what the coaches have told him. And now he might win a Thorpe Award, or maybe probably win a Thorpe Award and be a first-round draft pick. I mean, you can't do it much better than he's done.
Yeah, I mean, right now, in terms of draftable corners, I mean, he's got to be among the top 3 easily. Usually that puts you in the first round if you're among the top 3 best corners coming out in the draft. No, it is. It's phenomenal what he's done, and his versatility, right? I mean, I think that's what he showed, that he's a guy that can play nickel for you if you need him to. He can play outside, play corner, but it's his football intelligence, this football IQ that really took his game to a whole nother level. I call him a football investigator, but I mean, you go watch him. I mean, he plays the stickiest coverage that you'll see on receivers and runs the routes for a lot of guys. I mean, and when his eyes are in the right place, the only time he's got in trouble this year is when his eyes have been in the wrong place. And maybe he's starting to, take too many chances. But usually, man, when he's dialed in reading his keys, I haven't seen a better cornerback in the country. Travis Hunter is probably your best athlete at corner in the country because he can just lock up and play man-to-man in terms of, so I'll take him as an athlete at corner. But in terms of playing the cornerback position and being a student of the game and truly, playing the game at an executive professional level, being a technician, he is one of the best technicians I've seen at corner probably ever in college football. I mean, that would make sense why he's going to win the Thorpe as being the best DB. So he's going to. I'll do my DBU rankings at the end of the season. I do DB rankings for the history of DBU, and now, man, Jahdae Barron's got to be in the top 10 easy. And maybe in the top 5 potentially, because he's talking about all the time.
Well, listen to him last night, and I got to meet with him. I know you did too, CJ, at SEC Media Days. He's one of those guys you spend a few minutes with, and you're like, that guy, whatever his NFL career is going to be, that guy is going to be a CEO of a company or something. Listen to this guy. This kind of speaks to the type of players and culture that Sark has in his locker room right now. Here's him last night at the Nagurski Award.
So just to be here today is truly an honor. I'm always tell myself, honor the ones that paved the way before me, and then leave a legacy for the ones that came after me. So I just continue to do that, and then I love my team. We thrive on culture here at the University of Texas, and Coach Sark, he's changed my life on and off the field. Coach Joseph, my position coach, and Coach PK, the DC, and Blake Gideon, the safeties coach. They tremendously changed my life, and it made me a better man. So I want to say thank you to everybody here, and thank you for everybody being a part of my life. Hook 'em.
Yeah, there you go, Rod. I mean, you always used to talk about when times were down at Texas, you talked about, not what Texas can do for you, but what you can do for Texas, right? I mean, that's totally flipped now. I always love that when you would talk about that there are players who want Texas to do something for them, but now they got a bunch of guys that are investing in Texas, investing in that locker room, and you're seeing the results. I mean, it's 1-to-1 with the coaches, but a lot of guys who love being Longhorns and love playing for this program.
Yeah, I mean, they're you can tell the guys are trying to leave it better than they found it. All right, and that's a big part of your legacy. No matter who you are at Texas as a player, right? No matter what sport you're playing, you want to leave it better than you found it, and trying to live up to and play to the standard, right? And I think the guys right now, all of them, are doing a really good job of maintaining that standard, playing to that standard, and doing a really good job of passing down the legacy, right? Passing that down to the next generation so that you don't have that disconnected the culture. And that's ultimately what happened. I mean, talent's never been the biggest issue. Development has been a big issue. Culture has been a big issue. But the culture will take care of itself if the guys take pride in it and they pass it along, which is what, we took a lot of ownership in doing. The guys before me took ownership in doing. And I think now that type of responsibility is back. That to make sure that the next generation that's next after you, that they got it and that they cherish it and they're committed to it. And it's not just, a mantra that people throw out there, that the culture actually means something and that they embody it. And I think that's what you're seeing.
Yep. Across the board. All right. Good stuff right there. Rod, tell them about DG Construction, and then we're going to get into some other NFL. I want to get into the DeMarvion Overshown injury and the Jonathan Brooks injury. Hard to believe that happened day after day for a couple of Longhorns. That was a tough deal. But tell them about DG Construction.
Yep, Texas fans in the Austin and San Antonio area. If you're dreaming of transforming your outdoor spaces, well, look no further than DG Construction, San Antonio's premier hardscape and exterior living space contractor. So celebrating 10 amazing years of delivering top-notch craftsmanship, the guys at DG Construction are experts at creating stunning driveways, patios, walkways, and beautiful lawn improvements in either concrete or vivid pavers that match and enhance the curb appeal of your home's exterior. Whether you're in San Antonio, Austin, Kerrville, or anywhere in the Hill Country, their dedicated team brings your residential and commercial visits to life. From luxurious artificial turf to sturdy house slabs and even foundation repairs, DG Construction, they've got you covered. They're just a call away. Reach out to Mark Valdez. As a matter of fact, he's their dedicated design consultant, and he's a longtime subscriber of On Texas Football. For a free consultation, you can reach out to him today and his team at 210-400-5643. That's 210-400-5643. Don't wait. Do it right now while you have a chance, while you remember it. Don't wait. Make your outdoor dreams a reality. Give DG Construction a call or visit them online at dgsatx.com. That's dgsatx.com. Hook them from the folks at DG Construction, where outdoor dreams meet exceptional designs.
Appreciate that. There you go. I just right on cue. There's a tweet from Michael Taff on X 4 hours ago. Just more motivation. Hook 'em. That guy's been doubted his whole life, and I know I'm sure if he's paying attention tonight, probably not. But everybody feels bad for Michael for not getting first, second, or third team. CJ, do you know much about Georgia Tech's Eric Singleton? Does he possibly meet the standard for Sark? Keep hearing his name and skill. I know he's a speedster. CJ, I mean, he's a track guy, which Sark always loves to have in his offense. You can't have enough speed.
No, you absolutely cannot. He's a 10-3 guy, so that's really fast speed right there. He had 9 catches for about 96 yards against Georgia in that 8 overtime game. Was really one of Georgia Tech's biggest targets this year. Had about 750, 760 yards this season. Heck of an athlete right now. The early kind of indication with him is that he'll be staying within the state. Sounds like Georgia finally wants somebody at the wide receiver spot who can catch a football this year, and Eric Singleton is one of them. Georgia this year has an abysmal. It's one of the worst wide receiving groups I've seen from a team that's where it is, top 5 in the country, playing for the college football playoff. It is a nasty group of wide receivers, and they haven't done Carson Beck many favors, and now they'll be dealing with the backup quarterback for the playoffs, it appears. So we'll see. But right now, it feels like Georgia, their NIL, and Kirby Smart have all said, you know what? Figure it out. Give me something that can catch the ball. And Singleton feels like he's going to be sticking inside the state. And then also A&M added a 6th year. I guess next year will be his 7th year. 7th year of college. Jacob Zeno out of UAB. You might remember him, and this is how long he's been in college. He actually backed up Charlie Brewer at Baylor, and just goes to speak about how long he's been in college. So I hope he's leaving with a couple of degrees there. Otherwise, might be worth questioning what's going on. But you look at his stats. He didn't play a whole lot at Baylor. He got beat out, I believe, twice by Brewer, obviously, and then Blake Shapen as well. But you start looking elsewhere. The last 3 years he was at UAB, obviously 2023, he had a pretty solid year. 73.5% was actually the best in the country that year. 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, but 6 seasons he's played in 30 games. So someone that can certainly rack up some injury miles as well. I don't think this means that Marcel Reed is gone. I think this means that A&M is looking at it in the sense that Connor Wakeman, definitely gone, but they need somebody who at least can have some sort of capability if he goes down. A&M also brought in Brady Hart, the former Michigan quarterback commit in the 25 class, who reclassified from 26. Really young kid, really talented kid, but not one that I think A&M is going to want to rely on should something happen to Marcel Reed next year. So that's why they went out and got Jacob Zeno, obviously. So, look, I see it as a Spencer Sanders to Ole Miss. I see it as a Casey Thompson to Oklahoma kind of signing. You never hurts to get a capable quarterback, even if that guy is about 30 years old.
Yeah. Well, I'm going Big Lebowski on these guys. This guy, General Booty and Alan Bowman. Y'all get a job. Get a job, son.
Hey,
just get a job.
I'm jealous. We're just jealous, man. We're all jealous.
We're jealous. All right. By the way, as of this morning, Texas has 6 or 7 guys in the portal. I saw where Mississippi State has 21. Arkansas has 20. Kentucky 19. I mean, that's the bottom of the conference. So they're either churning guys out or it's not good. A&M has 13 guys in the portal. OU 12. And CJ, most of Oklahoma's receiving corps is in the portal right now, is it not?
Yeah, it is. A bit surprising. You didn't think that Oklahoma had any receivers left, and the ones that were on roster would like to see some footballs go their way. But Jaquez Petaway entered the portal. Nick Anderson, a big one, has the portal. J.J. Hester, who transferred in last year, portaled, and Jalil Farouk, who has 25 career starts, back in the portal as well. So, look, I don't know who's going to be throwing them the ball moving forward. I don't know if it matters, but I also don't know who's going to be receiving those passes moving forward. They play Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl later on this year in Fort Worth, and I would expect both teams to be looking like triple option teams in that game with the way that Oklahoma's lacking for wide receivers right now.
Rod, props to you. You said it earlier in the year that Brett Venables is – what Texas fans have seen it. The offensive identity crisis is not a good thing, right? When you – whatever they thought of Jackson Arnold, when you handle a 5-star like that who's in the portal now, it sends reverberations through the future, the ability to recruit players. Yep. And it's part of, I know Longhorn fans have the Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning thing. I mean, you got to be careful how you take care of your quarterbacks, right, that are that level of player. I know that's totally different than Quinn Arch, but at the same time, to give that quarterback, 3 games before he got benched for a true freshman, that's tough. I mean, that does not resonate very well with future quarterbacks of, man, I don't want to play there.
Yeah, no, and it's right. And to me, talent, acquisition, we talk about it now because you have the transfer portal and you got recruiting, right? That's now a different monster altogether that coaches have to figure out in terms of roster construction, but talent retention to keep the talent. And and you just brought up one variable, right? That's playing a role there. How you handle your 5-star quarterback, the leader in the locker room, how you handle that has an effect on talent retention and guys who decide to hit the transfer portal, especially at a certain position like wide receiver. If they see, I don't like the way your offensive coordinator, right? That now affects your talent retention. And to me, that's why you need a GM in the front office in college football. See, the NFL, talent retention is no big deal. I got a guy on contract. Boom, retained. I got him, right? Got him for as long as I need him. Got him for 3 years, got him for 4 years, whatever it is. In college football, you ain't got that. So when the talent retention thing is tough because the coaches got to figure out, you want some natural attrition. I think Texas and some programs kind of figured out you want a little bit of it. You want, anywhere from 8 to 12 spots so you can churn out the bottom of your roster and keep upgrading it. But then you got some programs where, man, because of different issues, you talk about Mississippi State, they're struggling with talent retention. They got talent, they just can't keep it. And there are a lot of schools that are getting talent. Can they keep the talent? And that is the biggest struggle now for colleges that aren't the Texases of the world is, man, keeping the talent they have. Even if it's just, you could be doing good and have a good year. And because you had a good year, as you know, the Texas States of the world and the smaller schools of the world, they got to worry about people taking their talent who want to play on a bigger stage, who want to play for maybe more money. So I've been really kind of immersed in thinking about the talent retention. That is a struggle for almost every college that is not in the upper elite of the aristocracy of college football these days. It's easy for Texas to do it. Easier. I'll say easier. But for schools who are not in that aristocracy, it is hell on wheels every year when your good players leave and then the players who ain't playing leave. Yeah, that's just the reality because they want to leave for greener pastures, straight cash, homie greener pastures, and also the chance to play on a bigger stage and for a bigger platform.
Well, and that's why earlier we talked about the parity, maybe this 12-team playoff in its first year, spreading some talent out. The fact that Indiana brought in all the portal guys and they're playing in the biggest games, and Arizona State and Boise. We'll see where these guys go. Obviously, they're going to try to go to where they can, play, but also make some money and win. Hey, CJ, what is Jackson Arnold's market? He and Connor Wiegman, both former 5 stars. I mean, Jackson, we talked earlier about Cade Klubnik and Quinn Ewers in that state playoff run. Before they played, Westlake played South Lake Carroll, they played Denton Ryan and beat Jackson Arnold on their way to that game for Quinn Ewers. What is Jackson Arnold's market? I mean, it's not lost on me that Brett Venables benched him and then later fired Seth Luttrell, the offensive coordinator, during the year, and then admitted he made a mistake in Seth Luttrell, that he just didn't hire the right guy. And I'm sure Jackson Arnold's kind of like, well, yeah, thanks, appreciate that you hire this guy that doesn't know offense, and I'm the victim of that. But he's still a very talented guy. Connor Wiegman, what's the market for those guys, big picture?
Yeah, I think for Arnold specifically, I think it would be kind of short-sighted for teams that are desperate to have a quarterback to completely write him off. Again, I don't know if there were many quarterbacks in the country that would have had success with this Oklahoma offense this year, right? So put the scheme alone. You look at what the situation was with the offensive line, not good. You look at the situation at wide receiver and the health, your top 4 guys were out for essentially the entire year. I don't know how Texas would be looking right now without Isaiah Bond, a Matthew Golden, a Ryan Wingo, and a DeAndre Moore, right? Things would be pretty different for Quinn Ewers, and I say that because, look, Jackson Arnold's a talented quarterback. Has he been in great situations? No. Has he been good on the field? No. But I think there's going to be teams that are hoping to take a chance or hoping to catch lightning in the bottle with what you would call in free agency a cheaper option, an opportunity to go out. And look, Auburn desperately needs a quarterback. I'm also to the point now where I don't think I'll ever see Auburn again have a good quarterback, just with the way that they've gone about the position since Cam Newton. Nick Marshall, pretty solid, but since then, name one solid quarterback at Auburn, regardless. The point being, Mississippi State, Auburn, you look at Indiana and what might happen after Curtis Rourke. These are all schools that would like to have a quarterback of a 5-star pedigree. And I think Arnold and Wakeman would both have, big markets in my eyes. I think those are considered big markets now. I look at Missouri losing Brady Cook. These guys that have good quarterbacks now that are departing, you could certainly make the case that they would be desperate to go out and add a guy, or at least take a chance on a guy who probably won't demand the most money possible, but also would come in and, probably be a pretty serviceable bridge to whoever they have coming up. Look, the Vikings have Sam Darnold, right? He was written out of the league 2 years ago. That was a guy nobody wanted. Still a young guy, relatively speaking. That's kind of what we're seeing with that of a Jackson Arnold or Connor Wakeman, just in the sense that it didn't cost the Vikings a whole lot of money to go out and get him. And he's been pretty good. Why? Because he's only 25 years old. He's still a young quarterback. Folks wrote them off very early in their careers, despite still having talent and a lot of room for development. I think with both of those guys, you see room for growth, because we obviously saw a lot to be desired from their play at their two stops.
Yeah. Well, and think of Bo Nix. Bo Nix was at Auburn and, couldn't win the big one. You mentioned the Auburn Tigers and their quarterback situation. Went to Oregon, played great, got in a great system with Coach Stein and Coach Lanning. And, here he is, 12th pick of the draft, maybe rookie of the year offensively, the Broncos. I mean, it's Rod, it's a position where the system, talent around you, coaching matters. I mean, it absolutely does.
Yep. And what Malik Murphy's a prime example of that, right? He stayed at Texas a little bit longer because the coaching mattered to him. He wanted to learn under Steve Sarkisian, one of the great quarterback gurus in college football, and went to Duke. And now he's in the transfer portal too. He's going to be one of those stories you talk about, one of those highly sought after quarterbacks who, yes, wants his market value, but showed enough promise. What did Duke win? 9 games? He won 9 games. I mean, that's, that's promising. Now that he's shown a season worth of sample size at Texas and at Duke, I'm sure that I don't know where he would demand the most and what his priorities are. I don't know. Maybe it's not all just the bag. Maybe he wants to play on a bigger stage, win championship. That's another guy that I think is one of those stories that you look at and shows you how important the quarterback position is in college football. When you're talking about the developmental guy you're keeping as a backup, bringing in, you just talked about that, CJ, or you're talking about the one you're bringing in to be the face of your program. And that's why they're worth so much money now in the open market, because it really can change the fortune of a program pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's 100%. I mean, I think if even the NFL, Daniel Jones going to play for the Vikings here at the end of it, I'm going to go where Kevin O'Connell is like this quarterback Yoda, and I'm going to learn from him. And hopefully, like Baker Mayfield did when he went to play for Sean McVay, kind of resuscitate his career. I mean, it really, coaching matters, and being around really smart people matters.
That's why the Mannings are saying that they want Arch to stay at Texas for 2 years. Right. Part of that is they understand that the NFL is no longer a developmental league. They are in the quarterback. That is their family business, right? They are the first family of football, and they know more than anybody. The NFL does not have time or care about the quarterback development anymore. Ask Sam Darnold, right? They would throw you to the trash real quick and be like, we're done with them. Draft another one. Let's move on. Right. And the NFL, since they're not concerned about it, they probably don't have the time for it or the patience for it. You have to develop more at the college level. And that's tougher too. Why? Because quarterbacks are transferring all the time. They don't play, they want to transfer. They're not going to stay and develop in a system when they can just transfer. Malik Murphy stayed next year. Good for him. But the Mannings, I think part of it, now that's just not really how they do business. I think part of why you're hearing, he's going to stay 2 years at Texas, even though he's already been sitting behind Quinn, is that, no, they want him to develop. Because they're all about development in terms of the lineage and the brand that is the Manning brand. So I think ultimately that, and hell, you heard, I want to say that that Archie said that he may stay 3 years.
Yeah,
in Texas. Like,
no rush. I mean,
they're not rushing this thing.
Think about Bryce Young out of Alabama, right? He gets to Carolina. They fire his coach during the year. His first season, then bring in a new coach, and 2 games in he gets benched, and he's back in playing. But it's like, man, you guys are crazy. You guys, this is not,
Anthony Richardson. It doesn't matter.
None of this makes any sense. You need some cultivation. You got houses in a neighborhood. You can see the people that keep their yard up and the people that don't, that know what they're doing. It's not. You can tell the difference. Hey, let me let Rod tell them about Hargrove Roofing, and then we're going to get into this Demo injury, Marvion Overshown, which came down today. and take some of your super chats. But Rod, tell them about Hargrove.
Very excited about Hargrove Roofing because they do a great job, as well as we appreciate them sponsoring the Tuesday night live stream here. They have offices all over Louisiana, Arkansas, and of course the great state of Texas, including Austin, Texas. Hargrove Roofing will take care of all of your roofing needs. Plus, they're Longhorn friendly. They have partnerships with lifetime Longhorn Bert Auburn, as well as lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee. He comes on the winning drive, courtesy of our friends over at Hargrove Roofing. They're the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there. You can call them today and get a free roof inspection. That's right, folks. Free 99. Give them a call, 512-645-3202. You can't beat that price. And also, you can reach out to them on their website at hardgroveroofing.com. Know who's on your roof. Thank you to our friends over at Hargrove Roofing. That's hardgroveroofing.com.
All right, guys. So on Sunday, the Eagles beat the Panthers in a good game. And in that game, Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL again. Same knee that he tore last November against TCU. And I still believe, we've had this debate, guys. Texas may have won the national championship if Jonathan Brooks hadn't gotten hurt last year in that game. That he was such a dynamic, two-way player for the Longhorns. And who knows? They win the Big 12 without him and lose to Washington. Who knows if they've got that guy running the ball, catching the ball, screen passes in Washington and beyond. You never know. But you hate it for him. And then he hurts the same knee. And he's going to be out again. And then DeMarvion Overshown last night on Monday Night Football, having a hell of a second year, hurt his knee in the first year. But look at this, guys. According to Ed Werder, torn ACL, MCL, and PCL in his right knee. And very extensive injury. Mike McCarthy talked today that he's going to take, he won't play next year. They're not going to rush him back. 2026 is now the target time for DeMarvion. I mean, that's just, there in a very, and CJ, you're a Cowboys fan, in a very dark season. That's one of the bright spots, because he and Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland, they're the formation of a really good defense moving forward. And you just hate to see that. Missed all of his rookie year with a torn left ACL. Now it's the right knee, and it's all torn up.
Yeah, really unfortunate, because he had been balling, right? There wasn't much to be excited about with this Cowboys team, but look, he was one of them. He had been, again, the bright spot. A lot of folks in the Dallas area were kind of anticipating him being one of the Pro Bowl, All-Pro kind of guys moving forward in his career, and this is going to set it back pretty significantly. Just really unfortunate, heartbreaking for Demo, who already had to fight through an ACL in preseason. His rookie year, he had been balling, and it's really, really sad to see.
Yeah, Robert, what does that mean? I mean, all three of the CLs, that cannot be good.
Yeah, I mean, it's devastating, man. I just feel so bad for him. I went through those injuries, back injuries like that. I had to go through those. It's really, I'm more concerned. The physical part of it. There's a lot of technological advances. So I actually, feel good that he'll get another shot at it. Even though that's using injury 10 years ago, that I don't know if you come back from stuff like that. But now I think there are probably some examples of guys who've been able to come back from injuries that significant. I'm more worried about his mental health after something like that, man. It's just devastating back-to-back years. So I'm glad he had a chance to play and show that he had so much promise, and they loved him. Michael Parsons was crying when he was describing the injury. That's how.
That tells you. Mike McCarthy said today he's never been around he doesn't think he's been around a more heavy locker room where it was the devastating loss and they just felt so bad for a guy that even in a bad year never stopped playing hard and never stopped competing. And he even tweeted out that he's one of God's warriors, and he can handle this, and you just hope the best for him, because I just sent Matthew another tweet with some of his stats. Look at and Matthew, when you have it, let me know, because the year he was having, 13 games, 90 tackles, he's got 5 sacks, he's hit the quarterback 5 more times, 8 tackles for loss, and he had a fumble recovery, and look at that. Just superstar. Sorry for the F-bomb in there, but that's that's a big time performance. That guy, as you said, all pro or Pro Bowl kind of guy. Rod, you played in the NFL, and you said mental. You had back-to-back injuries like that. Talk about how difficult that is, because you're not around your teammates. You got to rehab all the time. For Jonathan and for DeMarvion, your entire offseason now really becomes rehab, not really playing football.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm, and I know the physical side of it is going to be that is going to be a really, really, tough, long road, recovery, and the rehab is tough. Trust me, I had to do that, multiple shoulder surgeries, back-to-back seasons. But like I said, I'm more concerned. I want them to take care of themselves in terms of their mental health, because football for most of these guys is their first love, and being around the game and being around your teammates, that actually is a big part. That routine is a big part of kind of recharging these guys. And when you are injured, you're not with the team because you got to go rehab every day. They want your recovery, so you're separated from the team a lot of the times, and you don't have your relationship with the game anymore. I mean, you don't have ball. You're not going to have ball for a while. You didn't have it, obviously prior to the, obviously the second injury, because you have back-to-back injuries. So like I said, for me, I know my mental health was challenged during that time because I couldn't be around the game of football, and my self-worth, my identity was always in question as a result of that. And it may sound silly to some, but when these guys their identity is wrapped up in the game of football, and then you don't have it for a year, and then you question whether you're ever going to have it again, and it taken away from you in such a traumatic way. I would encourage them to, I know, it may sound soft. I would encourage both of them to go talk to, therapists about it. Go talk to somebody about it. Talk to someone, family, because it can be very difficult for those guys. Because they could be the end of their careers. It could be.
Let's be honest. Like, NFL, man, not for long league. There's a reason.
Yeah, it could be the reality of it. It's like, hey, this could be you seeing the end of your career. Now, I hope that's not the case. We hope they all battle back and they're great. But either you may not, you may have to retire, or you may be in your career, or you may not be the same player. That's just it's a dark reality, I think, for these guys to deal with. So I hope there's the love around them and their family. I hope everybody just, make sure that they're supporting them as much as possible, and don't assume that they're okay. You know what I mean? Check on those dudes, man, because it can be dark for them in that time.
Yeah, both of them back to back. I mean, just getting back and playing and getting back on the field, and now they got to do it all over again. That's tough for sure. And even like in Carolina with Jonathan Brooks, I mean, they drafted him, traded up to get him, and then now Chuba Hubbard's having a great year in Carolina because it's almost like he knows his job's at stake. That's the way that league works, man. It's
next man up, man. It's moving on. It's moving on. Yeah. That's also why it's tough. It's tough to watch that as a player. They just move on without you. You're like, it's just gonna move on without him. It's like, yeah, it's gonna move on without you. It's gonna be another great player right behind you. Trust me, it's hard to watch that from the outside. So I hope they're taking care of themselves, man. That can be really tough.
All right. Well, hate to leave it on a down note, but it's been fun on a Tuesday night, guys. Hour and 15 minutes of good combo and good debate. Longhorns will look forward to that schedule reveal tomorrow night. I know we got Pete Kwiatkowski up for the Broyles Award, the top assistant coach in the country. Longhorns offensive line still up for that Joe Moore Award. Jade Barron and the Thorpe, Kelvin Banks and the Outland Trophy here in the next several weeks or several days. That hot take, I think all these snubs are going to have these guys coming out with their hair on fire, especially on the defense. Number one defense in the country, only 3 players listed. They're about to bring it. Well, that's what you made the tournament. That's all you, Rod. You played in the NFL long enough to know. All you can ask for is make the tournament. Get yourself a spot in the tournament, and you got a chance. This says late to the chat. Worried about the slow developing plays from Sark we saw in the SEC champ game. Thoughts?
Georgia is a very unique defense. They're aggressive and fast flow. That's why ultimately bad matchup for Sark screens and slow developing wide zone plays. So I think with other schools it may work a little bit better, but that is a unique quality of the Georgia defense that does not work well for Texas in those matchups. I think that's ultimately what it is. So
yeah, I tend to agree.
Yeah, you won't see it, and Jerry and I talked about it a lot, and with Rod on the watch along. I mean, that set of linebackers, those guys are. I mean, as good as Texas is recruiting right now, Georgia's been doing that 7-8 years, and those guys are stacked, man. And
well coached. Well coached.
All right, good stuff, guys. Great stuff at the end there, Rod. Appreciate the love, and wrap your guys' arms around DeMarvion Overshone and Jonathan Brooks out there. Send them the love, and it's going to be a fun run here. December 21st, Longhorns in Clemson, 3:00. We'll do it again next Tuesday. Obviously, tomorrow morning, coffee and football. the whole day. CJ, what's your plan? You'll be following the portal intently and jumping in, right?
Yeah, portal talk all the way through. Of course, Texas not on the practice field till Thursday. It'll be light Thursday, Friday, and then they'll be back on Monday. So just keep following along because the portal is going to be really interesting. And Texas not too active yet, but that'll come as the week progresses.
Rod, kiss that baby, and we'll see you tomorrow on the On Texas channel. And you guys have a great night, everybody. Enjoy your Tuesday. Let's do this again next Tuesday night. We'll be 5 days out to the Clemson game. Looking forward to it on the On Texas channel. Happy holidays, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Z. Hook 'em.
Y'all have a good